There were 132 guys last year who played over 1,000 innings, and in that time, there was literally nobody worse when it came to the defensive stat I take the most seriously, being fielding run value, than Juan Soto, at -13, tied with Joe Adell. And I know you might find yourself asking right now, why was he worse than Adell when Joe literally played less innings, making his output actually worse on a per-game basis? Well, the Angels outfielder was attempting to learn a new position on the fly, being center field, where he registered -8 outs above average. Based on his metrics in right, if he had played the whole year there, he probably wouldn't have been great, but not anywhere nearly as bad overall. Soto, meanwhile, had zero excuse, as he was playing a position that he had registered over 5,000 career innings played at previously. But don't get me wrong, it wasn't just FRV where Soto was a major league worst. He was also tied for last among outfielders in runs prevented and outs above average, which fold into fielding runs. Even his once valuable arm, which registered a value of 3 last season, dropped to -2 in 2025. So, what does that actually look like in practice? Well, there were a couple obvious mishandled ground balls, like when he botched this play in right field versus the Marlins to turn what probably should have been a play at the plate into an easy RBI single, or when he let this routiner straight up get by him versus the Nationals, and then go nearly all the way to the wall, allowing a run to score and pushing the hitter all the way to third base. However, the dude only made one official error this year, being the prior play, so I wouldn't say that this happened all that often. But you know what did? Him not being able to get to balls that were even of a moderate difficulty. Let's start with plays he had to go back on. Here he is chasing 4 separate fly balls that were over his head. Now, I'm not saying that he needed to catch every single one of these, or that they weren't relatively tough, but to not manage to get to even a single one of them, especially this one versus the Cubs, which he actually had time to camp underneath, and still somehow turn himself around, or this one versus the Nationals that he got a glove on but couldn't secure, leading to a leadoff triple that eventually contributed to a walk-off loss. And in case you thought his range was any better coming in, you'd be dead wrong. Here's 3 separate instances of him not being able to get to a ball that the vast majority of outfielders besides him would be able to. Almost looking like he was moving in slow motion in the process, especially on the last one versus Ronald Acuna Jr., taking a bizarre route to a ball that ended up dropping just in front of him. And for those of you that are going to claim I'm cherry picking these, I want to point you back to this screenshot of his actual metric performance. The dude was terrible going any direction on the field, and nearly equally so, I might add. The last area of note I wanted to point to was the fact that, among all Major League outfielders, he was also tied for the most triples allowed. This obviously is not completely his own doing, but it certainly was noticeable at times how long it took him to go and retrieve balls rattling around out there, and then to get them in, with this instance versus Cleveland I think serving as a pretty good example. Seeing as how he wasn't nearly as bad overall in 2024, I do think there's room for him to return to the mean going forward, but it's almost certainly going to have to involve him putting in work in the offseason, something I'm not sure he's all that concerned with considering that he almost just went 40-40 in his first year in Queens. Alright everybody, if you made it this far, I appreciate you watching, and if you did, consider checking out any of these other videos on your screen right now for other content just like this. Also, if you ever see anything you'd like to see me detail in the video, feel free to reach out to my email, basebpoet@gmail.com, and if I end up using your idea, I'll give you a shout out. Thanks for watching, have a great rest of your day.